All right, good evening. We'll call K-12 education to order. Madam Secretary, please take the roll.
Representative Bolso.
Here.
Representative McKenzie.
Here.
Representative Ritchie.
Here.
Representative Slater.
Here.
Representative Stevens.
Here.
Representative Warner.
Here.
Chairman Haston.
Here.
Chairman Hurt.
Here.
Chairman White.
Here.
Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Any personal orders before we begin? I would ask for all y'all to help me welcome our research analyst, Carly Easley, and attorney Sean McMinn to the room. Good luck to both of y'all. Y'all are going to need it. All right. We do have 3 bills on the calendar. First one that we've got is House Bill 1644 by Leader Lamberth. Properly motioned. Leader Lamberth, you are recognized on House Bill 1644.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is the same bill I had during the special session that had overwhelming support both in this committee and on the House floor. Unfortunately, it was not successful in the other chamber that remain unnamed. But we're hoping this year it can be successful in both chambers and get to the governor's desk. This is a very simple, straightforward bill, but it will save lives. When an unannounced fire alarm goes off, so this is not a drill, this is not something anybody expects. When it goes off, we no longer live in a world, unfortunately, where we can assume that that is a fire. It could be a natural disaster. It could be a tornado. It could be fire. It could, unfortunately, be an active shooter in the building. It could be some other incident that is going on. But there are procedures that some counties put in place, like Sumner County has, that happen very quickly, that I will not go into detail on for security purposes. But every single public and private school in this state should have those same procedures if an unannounced fire alarm goes off. That is what this bill does, Mr. Chairman. I stand ready for questions.
Thank you, Leader Lamberth. Members, you've heard the explanation. Any questions for our sponsor? Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for bringing this bill. And again, as I talked about during the special session, fundamentally, I agree with this intent wholeheartedly. My concern is that, fire means fire, and any delay in a actual true fire puts our children and the support staff and teachers at risk. I fully understand that the logic and reasoning behind an alternative method. Again, as I said during the session, what I would like, again, at my former employer, well, there's several hazards. There's a radiation hazard, there's a earthquake hazard, there's a tornado hazard, things they categorize, and there's 2 or 3 different tones that indicate what the hazard is. And so that's my concern, is that if somehow we could try to consider something that doesn't put our youth at immediate risk for a fire. Again, I fully understand that. I hate that we're here. I hate that we're having this conversation. Everyone hates that, but that's my only concern. It's not going to prevent me from supporting this bill, but I just want something to consider going forward.
Leader Lamberth.
I guess we're going to go there right now. That's fine. Could not disagree with you more. This bill does not put people in danger. It, in fact, will save lives. We've worked with the fire marshal. We've worked with the Department of Safety. We've worked with other departments for months. And we've worked directly with school personnel and with families to say what is the best way to leave every opportunity open. Now, the second part of your statement, that's what this bill does. It allows schools to put in whatever type of procedure that they wish that can differentiate between different types of threats. That, again, will save lives. These are not delays that are going to endanger lives, and that's not me saying that. That's every expert I've spoken with signing off on this type of language to say, yes, we need a better procedure.
Members, any other questions for us? Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Leader, for bringing this. Is there any different type of signal that may go out, like we have a fire alarm that has maybe a long signal? If it was an active shooter or tornado, maybe it's short beeps. It's something different.
Leader Lamberth.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that question, sir. It can be any number of things. There are schools that will not be able to afford some of the more expensive systems that have differentiated alarms. This can be everything from a system where it's an alert in every single room, or even something that a teacher would carry, all the way to just an announcement over the PA. I don't mind saying, and I don't think my local law enforcement folks would mind me sharing this, but in Sumner County schools, they use the PA sometimes for that. For instance, if it is a lockdown, you will hear over the PA system, lockdown, lockdown, lockdown over and over and over again so that you cannot ignore it. So it can be something like that. We are not trying to micromanage how schools do this. We are simply saying that you have to do this.
Representative Slater.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for bringing this bill. And I fully support it. And I'd just like to share that in over 30 years in K-12 administration, I've had the opportunity to direct safety drills of many different types. Tornado drills, fire drills, of course, earthquake drills. And unfortunately, during that 30 years, we added to that active shooter drills as well. I'm very confident that our schools, that our administrators will take this tool that we give them in this legislation, and they'll craft it in such a way, use it in such a way that it will save lives and not endanger the lives of students or cause any delay. And thank you so much for bringing this legislation.
Leader Lambert.
Thank you. And Representative Slater, thank you, because quite frankly, the idea for this legislation came really from twofold sources. One, a meeting that you called with our local LEA and school resource officers with the Sheriff's Department. We sat down with them and we said, look, what do you do to keep our kids safe in Sumner County? And they explained to us several of the things that they already did, and we knew that we had a good procedure. And then in my conversation with some of the parents from the Covenant School, and one parent in particular whose permission, I didn't ask her permission today to name her, so I won't, but that I've had a lot of conversations with, that when a fire alarm goes off and it is an active shooter scenario, the worst thing that can happen is immediately the hallways are full of children. Because if it's a fire, that's exactly what should happen. What we're talking about is just a tiny pause to listen for what's going on, to wait for another alert, to find out what is going on so that you can go into those drills that you led so well and determine, okay, are we in this protocol or in this protocol? And not a long wait, but it just go through that and have the training. There's another aspect of this that also ensures that substitutes in the school would have that type of training as well. The staff obviously goes through that on a regular basis, but when you have a sub that's coming in, it is critical that those folks know exactly what to do when an unannounced and unexpected fire alarm goes off.
Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you. And that was my question. It was brought to my attention this summer, and it may be another bill, but you say it's in here. Because of the teacher shortage, we do have a lot of substitutes coming and going on a daily basis, weekly basis, and they may not know. No one took the time. So in this bill is the policy there that when you have a sub or temporary, that they are trained on this also.
Leader Lambert.
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. And under subsection E1, it specifically lists substitute teachers and staff in that protocol. So it is critical that every single staff member knows. And again, regardless of whether it's a fire or an active shooter or a tornado or anything else, to know, okay, boom, that's the procedure we're going into. And to know how to do that seamlessly, that it takes training. And so we've got to make sure now that our substitute teachers are never fully going to be to the level of training that your regular everyday teachers, but some of these substitutes are regular substitutes. And so even with them, there's ways to get them up to the point where our goal with this, again, is to increase and improve student safety and staff safety. That's the whole goal of this bill.
Seeing no other questions, without objection, we will be voting on House Bill 1644. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. You're on to full education.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you. It brings us to item number 2, House Bill 1630 by Chairman Sapicki. Properly motioned. Chairman Sapicki, you are recognized on House Bill 1630. And I do believe you have an amendment.
Drafting code 012047, Mr. Chairman.
All right, that what is the drafting code we have, and it is properly motioned. Members, this does rewrite the bill, so without objection, we will go ahead and vote to add this to the bill. So all those in favor of adopting amendment 012047, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. We are back on your bill as amended. You are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the amendment, ladies and gentlemen, the only section that the amendment really affected was Section A. It's just a definition. There was some clarifying language that some stakeholders wanted in there. So that's the only change, and the intent of the bill is the same. It does require the Board of Trustees of each public institution of higher education and the governing body of each local education agency and each public charter school to adopt a policy regarding the use of artificial intelligence by students, faculty, and staff for instructional and assignment purposes. Requires the board of each LEA and public charter school to report to the Department of Ed such adopted policies and methods of enforcement for the upcoming school year. Basically puts out there for our students and our faculty what the playing field is going to be going forward in education on how the use of artificial intelligence will be used or not used by teachers, faculty, and staff. Mr. Chairman, that's what the bill does.
Thank you, Chairman Sapicki. Members, any questions? Representative McKenzie, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As it relates to the higher ed part, it looks like they were asking for additional promulgation of rules. Is that is that the case? I guess, and just trying to understand what that looks like, because normally it takes a while to promulgate rules, and this is such a
Fluid. Sorry.
Thank you. No, thank you. That's the word I'm looking for. Fluid industry and science that maybe by the time the rules are promulgated, they may be outdated.
Chairman Sapicki.
Thank you. That's a great observation right there. One of the things we're working with is with the higher ed people right now, and also government operations chairman who sits behind you, to see if this is going to be functional the way it is, or do we have to amend this to possibly look at something differently. Right now, everything looks like it's okay, but if the committee does move this forward to the full committee and there is a change, it might be addressing that part of the bill.
Members, any other questions for our sponsor? Seeing none, we'll be voting on House Bill 1630. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed say no. The ayes have it. On to full education. That brings us to item number 3, House Bill 1655 by Chairman Sapicki. Do I have a motion? No. Properly motioned. Chairman Sapicki, you are recognized on House Bill 1655.
I'm sorry, I'm catching myself up here real quick. We have done tremendous work in English language arts over the last few years. We've been up here, really moving the ball with our students, getting more students that are on grade level. The one thing that's kind of been floundering a little bit has been mathematics. And so what this bill does, it starts the process that we can start to look at how we're going to deliver mathematics, not only in getting our teachers the professional development training, but what that's going to look like in the delivery to our students in the classroom. So this bill is pretty simple, and I'll walk you through it. In Section 1, Mr. Chairman, it talks about how the department's going to look at how we're going to create the professional development for our teachers. So we are looking at the best practices across the country, across the state, in our own classrooms in Tennessee, looking at our highest performers, and trying to figure out what they're doing that helps us get better math scores for our students. The second part is talking about teaching as a profession, trying to sync those students up that are going through teaching as a profession to get the necessary training on how to deliver mathematics to our students. Section 3, this is where it gets kind of large scale right here. The Department of Education will do a landscape analysis. They're going to look at our current teachers in Tennessee and our LEAs who are doing it very well and try to look at their best practices. Look across the country to those states that are doing exceptionally well in mathematics and try to figure out what they're doing, and then bring all that data back to us so that when we come back here in January of next year, we can have all this data before us and put it all together. And like we did with the Literacy Success Act, put together a bill that addresses the professional development and the training of our teachers, how we're going to deliver mathematics in our classrooms, how we're going to sync up our education prep providers in our colleges and universities to deliver the best mathematical educational product that we can for our students. Mr. Chairman, that was in summation of what the bill does. I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Chairman Sapicki. Members, before I do entertain any questions for our sponsor, we did have someone down, a couple people down to speak on this bill. So without objection, we will go out. No problem. Okay. All right. If we will go out of session and bring up Jimmy Brim and Carnegie Learning, or just If you would just state your name and who you represent,
Yes, sir.
and you'll have 3 minutes, and then we'll open it up for any questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. My name is Jimmy Brim. I am the Senior Vice President of Academic Planning for Carnegie Learning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. Just wanted to speak in support of the bill before you today that has been addressed. I have the unique opportunity to work nationally now across the country in supporting districts in teaching and learning. At Carnegie specifically, we have the unique opportunity to feel that we have the chance to really speak on this mathematics bill specifically, in that our company was founded 25 years ago at Carnegie Mellon with the explicit intent to figure out how students learn mathematics, what happens inside their minds when they're able to master the algebraic skills that is necessary for them to become able to be successful post-graduation and into the workforce. We've taken that work over the last 25 years and really worked on creating not just high quality instructional materials to support teachers, but what we're speaking on specifically today is the importance of making sure that we start with high quality professional learning. My experience, I was a teacher as well as a district administrator, most recently a deputy superintendent before working with districts across the country on this side of the ways of supporting students. And what we know and what we find is that teachers inside of the classrooms will generally reteach to their students the way that they were taught mathematics education when they were students inside of their high schools or inside of their elementary or middle schools. What that frequently leads to is teaching the procedures of mathematics instructions and never getting really deeply into the why of math. And that's what Carnegie was founded on, looking at how the brain truly understands mathematics concepts and then extends those into learning. And what we know is that teachers will put that into place when they are taught that themselves. Higher education institutions, with the hours they have to serve their students, especially in the elementary and middle schools where they're having teachers that are going to teach 5 content areas inside of classrooms, are not able to get down to the nuts and bolts necessary to really talk about this foundational learning of how students learn math. And so in full support of what you're doing here in Tennessee to support educators and making sure that the educators that are teaching our students are using the practices that we know are best for the way that students learn math, and starting with high quality professional learning is the way that I've seen success. Prior to joining Carnegie, I worked mainly in the K-5 literacy space and found that same exact effect, that when we start just by throwing materials and resources inside of classrooms, we do not maximize the impact on student learning. When we start with what is the best practice for teachers to be doing inside of the classroom, as this bill does across the state of Tennessee for teachers and students, and then align those with resources, then we're able to maximize success. And so I'm just here in full support of what you're doing and what it has the ability to do in terms of impacting teachers' instruction and thus the student achievement of students across Tennessee.
Thank you for that. Members, any questions for our guest? Representative McKenzie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With that said, are we doing any of this in the classroom with our, rising teachers? Is this kind of, are we trying to integrate this in our institution, higher ed?
Yeah, I'll let Representative Zapinski obviously speak about across his vision for the bill here in Tennessee. Yes, I do think it's absolutely critical that we're doing that in teacher preparation classes. Again, as I spoke of, I think we have to be honest with what are the requirements of colleges in terms of getting teachers ready to teach, and just how much you can possibly pour into the mind of a teacher before they're actually inside of the classroom. We don't really ask many other professions to be fully ready to master everything they need when they leave college. We don't ask our doctors, our pilots, or anyone else to be fully prepared to master everything upon exiting college. So we have to make sure that we're supporting. But yes, in agreement that we have to have higher education institutions working on the same conceptual understanding that it takes to teach math to all students, so all students can reach proficiency. But then also making sure that once we're doing that, like high quality professional learning for teachers certainly includes doing it in bite-sized so that teachers in the classroom enact the strategy, come back, reflect on the strategy, and then improve their own teaching and learning collaboratively.
Thank you for that. Any other questions from our members? Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the work you're doing at Carnegie Learning. And without objection, members, we will go back into session. Chairman Sapicki, you are recognized.
Thank you for Representative McKenzie asking that question. In the bill, it does lay a little bit of it out for you. Now, this is based off of the Department of Education creating this group that's going to look at all these procedures. But Section 3A, number 1, 2, 3, and 4, the current mathematics proficiency levels in the state. disaggregated by LEA grade levels and student groups. Number 2, LEAs with varying levels of mathematics proficiency, including examination of instructional programming as well as the strategies to remediate, intervene, and provide supports. And then number 3, professional development and pedagogical providers in the state to prepare mathematics teachers for educator licensure. So this is the task at hand: is what do we want education and mathematics to look like? The department will put together this team. They'll look at our current in the state of Tennessee, best practices across the state, education prep providers, and then like the Literacy Success Act, they'll bring something to us. Hopefully in January, we can start to get this ball rolling.
Thank you for that, Chairman Sapicki. And don't look at me when you're trying to pronounce something. When I'm teaching my Sunday school class, when we're doing some Old Testament stuff and I see a verse that's coming with some of those crazy names, I'm asking for one of the students to read it and put it on them. Chairman White, you're recognized.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for bringing this, because when you look at the national data from 2020 with the interruption that our schools had for the last couple of years, math really fell below that of reading, and it's being harder to bring it back. So I'm glad that we're focusing in Tennessee on this. Thank you.
Chairman Spicki.
One of the things that members that you've been part of is this renaissance in English language arts. And a lot of the country is watching what Tennessee is doing right now. And as we are as Tennesseans, the next step we're going to do is mathematics. And we're going to lead the country in mathematics, where the rest of the country will look at Tennessee and English language arts and math, look at what we're doing for our students and start to replicate it across our country.
Any other questions for our sponsor? Seeing none without objection, we'll be voting on House Bill 1655. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed say no. The ayes have it. You're on to full education.
Thank you, Chairman.
That brings us to the end of the calendar. Unless Representative Warner, you're recognized.
Thank you once again, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to recognize Ava Ackerman, back here, our new clerk for subcommittee, and welcome her aboard.
Appreciate that. Thank you for that. Any other comments? Seeing none, with objection, we stand adjourned.